And here we are. Today, we're talking about spiritual desolation. What does this mean? What does it mean when spirit seems to go silent, when you feel like you're trying to get a connection and you want answers and clarity and guidance and there's just nothing. It's just crickets. So we're going to talk about that today and what that actually means in terms of your practice and so on. The first thing I want to offer with this topic is just some relief. As I mentioned in my video yesterday, there's never nothing going on. And there's never anything wrong with you and your abilities to connect, your ability to sense, to feel, and so on. There are some things that we can address, obviously on a physical level, which I talk about all the time, to make sure that we're open to receiving. Okay, so that can be psychological, it can be physical, it can be emotional, it can be psychic and spiritual too. So we can talk about that as well in terms of setting the correct foundation for us to receive messages. Okay, so this is so important. So if you're sitting in your practice, your daily practice, whether that's through deep diaphragmatic breathing, or perhaps you have a guided meditation that you listen to, or a specific meditation practice that you're using, all meditation is good meditation as long as it allows you to sit with your own energy and create some sort of inner stillness so that you can receive guidance. You can feel into your own clairs, however that gets activated for you, whether it's visions or sounds or sensations or sometimes we feel little soul nudges, or we can feel the presence of something, however that shows up for you. So when you're sitting, it's important that we set the foundation to receive, right? So we have to get our antennas up, literally. And that means, sitting in silence, cultivating this daily practice, whatever that looks like for you as far as meditation goes, so that you're in a position to receive. Making sure that we're rested, that we're grounded, that we're hydrated, that we're clear, from mood altering substances, that we're, in a place where we can actually sit comfortably. We're free of physical pain or physical discomfort. That can be a distraction as well. So we want to make sure that we set, the correct foundation. We want to relax. We say relax before a guided meditation practice all the time. And we really mean deeply, deeply relax every muscle in your body, the thinking mind, the self-doubt, any contractions you might feel, whatever it is you're grappling with, you can just kind of set that aside for your practice. You don't have to be perfect to meditate, but you can just learn to set that aside just for your practice so that you can feel like you're ready to receive. Okay. It's kind of like, can I really hear what spirit has to share with me today? Am I open for it? There have been times when I've sat to meditate or to get guidance in my own practice, and I'm just not there. I feel distracted. There's other things that are pulling my attention. It's challenging to kind of sit and be still and so on. We're all human. So give yourself grace. Sometimes even just giving yourself grace allows you to deepen your practice and not rush and not be perfect and not make it, about something that you're doing wrong. Okay. This is the point of what I'm sharing, is that you're not doing anything wrong. We just need to make sure that we're setting the right foundation to receive guidance. Okay. So this is so important because, as I mentioned, there's never nothing going on. And having done all of these things, once I show up in full integrity, it's no different than the manifestation process I teach. Once I do all the things, I show up in integrity in all the ways that I have control over, all the ways that I can choose to show up fully. Once I've implemented all those things and I've shown up fully, now my only job is to surrender, right? That's the only thing here that's left to do, is really to surrender to the experience and let it be whatever it is. Noticing my tendency to judge. When I'm calling it spiritual desolation, when I feel disconnected, when I say I can't feel anything, I can't hear anything, I can't experience anything, there must be something wrong or there must be something off. What I'm doing is judging, right? I'm judging, I'm criticizing my experience. I'm saying this isn't what I'm expecting it to be. It feels like it's not working for me. It's because I'm looking for something specific. So this is a beautiful opportunity to notice that sitting with spirit means it just is. There's nothing really to expect or to get, or to, if I'm going to spirit with a specific question or a specific intention, it can be that I don't receive anything in that moment because I'm attached to an answer, or I'm looking for something specific. It's just a matter of this will come when it's supposed to. So understanding that nature, when we're leaning into a relationship with nature, we have to allow it to occur naturally, right? So it may not happen in the moment. It may be an intention that you set and you sit with it. And, I feel something, I don't feel something, I know, I don't know, I'm not sure, I have a sense, I have an inclination, or perhaps I'm leaning towards something that I want, and therefore my attachment is kind of creating this static signal where I can't fully receive the truth of the answer, whatever the answer is. Okay. So, let's say you're working with a yes, no question. Say, okay, well, is this a yes or is this a no? And I don't really know. I don't really know. And you're not really getting a clear signal either way. You can simply set an intention for the clarity to arrive in a way that really clicks for you, really connects for you, that lands for you in a way that feels obvious, that feels clear, and I will know when the time is right. Okay, so developing a relationship with our higher selves, with the spirit world, with nature, with God, with source consciousness, these are all synonyms of each other, whatever your context is really about cultivating implicit trust that the universe is always working with us. It's always bringing us what we need when we need it in the way that we need it. And it's really about reconciling our wants and desires with how I'm supposed to be receiving something. What's the actual timing for me? When is it right? And so on. So it's a trust walk. I can't emphasize this enough. It's like when I sit and do a reading for somebody, whether it's mediumship or psychic or a combination of both, which they usually are, just a channeled oracle transmission, it's a trust walk. I have no idea. I have no agenda. I don't know what's going to come through. I have a sincere heart's desire to be of service and to help, but I don't know what the message is going to be or what this person needs to hear. Generally speaking, I don't know anything about the person I'm sitting with. And so I'm just kind of pulling from the void and trusting that spirit's going to meet me at the level of my intention to offer information as it's needed in the way it's needed for this person in this moment in time. Right. And that's all I can do is surrender myself to this process that's so much bigger than me. And so it's no different when you're sitting with yourself. When we're sitting with others, it's easier almost to transmit this information because we're not attached to the outcome. We're not emotionally invested in the story. We might care and feel empathy, or you may want to, notice if you have any codependent tendencies, if you're reading for other people, if you want to fix their situation and overextend and sort of save them from whatever it is they're going through. Just keep that in mind. If you're someone who's holding space for others, this is not the intention. The intention is never, people are always exactly where they're supposed to be, even when they're suffering. Okay. So we just want to transmit information and offer it exactly as it's coming through so it can land for the person the way they need to receive it. The same is true for us. I want to be able to receive information in a way that really lands for me when the time is ready, when I can fully hear it, when I can fully receive it, so that I can implement it in my life. Okay. And you'll know, your body will tell you. Okay. So, again, it's an opportunity to develop patience, to develop your practice, to process your emotions, to process your thoughts, to journal, to go deeper in your practice. Perhaps, if you're sitting and you don't feel the guidance that you desire, just, notice the little upset or the little concern, the fear that can come up from that, and surrender that as well. And say, I was really hoping for some guidance today and I didn't receive the guidance that I needed, or I didn't receive the message that I needed. I don't feel the presence of spirit. Or perhaps you're developing your mediumship and you're like, nothing's happening, right? Like nothing's going on. But that's not true. There's always something going on. It's just a matter of, did I set the right foundation? Did I, show up in integrity to fully receive? Did I create the appropriate space for me to receive guidance? Are my intentions free of any attachments to any outcome? Do I have, clarity in terms of what I'm bringing to spirit? Am I open to receiving the messages that are that serve my highest and best good, not just what I want to hear? If I let go of my attachments, and, am I in a place to fully receive it? Okay. And can I leave it and trust? Can I hold the void as a sacred experience and trust that the answer will find its way to me in the way that I'm meant to receive it, as I'm meant to receive it, in the correct time, in the correct way? I apologize for the noise. My family's home, so I apologize for the distractions in the background. Okay. So, with that said, there are some things that we can do to regulate our nervous system. I always talk about the peace process. If you're a community member, that you can go back and reference that video. It's, deep diaphragmatic breathing, put your hand on your heart and regulate your nervous system. And just remember to talk to yourself and soothe yourself into letting go of this fear that something might be wrong. Okay. This is so important. So, I want to be able to walk through these steps. Okay. Once I've regulated my nervous system and I realize that, I'm moved out of fear and I'm not second guessing myself and I'm trusting that I haven't been abandoned. I'm trusting that I haven't been neglected or that I'm not doing something wrong or that it's just not working for me or that I'm not special or perhaps it's just not something I can do or I have the capacity for or the gifts for. None of that's true. And if you're someone who's interested in joining the Oracle path, you'll learn during this initiation, this 10-week immersion that we have starting in June, that anybody can access their intuitive gifts. Anyone can be a medium. Anyone can communicate with spirit. Anyone can download information from universal intelligence and walk awakened in this human life with the awareness that I'm connected to something so much bigger than my humanity. Right? That my humanity is actually here to serve as a vessel for the expression of something so much bigger than me. And this is all part of the process. Okay. So for those of you that are in practicing daily, that are developing your gifts, that are leaning into your own intuitive guidance and, wanting answers, wanting guidance, wanting to know what my path is, what is the path, the actual path to fulfillment, which is what we want to know deeply in this life so that we can find peace with our human experience and trust that we've done the things that we've come here to do and that we are satisfied with ourselves, with our karmic choices that we've made, what we've settled and what we've resolved. The path to that is an ongoing communication, an ongoing dialogue with spirit to accept where we are and to lean into those soul nudges as they come through in a way that is accessible to us. Where it's always the right time. This is so important that we sometimes look at our spiritual practice and we do it like, in this really type A way. We approach it from like, am I doing it right? Am I getting it wrong? Is this, happening fast? Is it happening on time? Is it, am I effective? All these things. And so this is the inner child. This is the conditioning, right? Fear-based conditioning that creates this unreasonable pressure, that inappropriate pressure really to perform or to be better or more advanced or more accelerated than we actually are. Okay. In fact, spirit is most easily accessible when we are relaxed, when we have no attachments, when we have no expectations, when we allow spirit to emerge spontaneously. Okay. And when I say spontaneously, I akin it to spontaneous joy, right? When we are able to experience spontaneous joy as a result of healing ourselves from fear and doubt and insecurity and pain, we emerge in this state of unconditional love, and our gifts are a byproduct of that. I'm more intuitive when I'm loving myself. I'm more clairvoyant, clairaudient, claircognizant when I'm embodying unconditional love, when I'm free of judgment, when I can give and receive, when I can hear things from a place of knowing and trusting that I live in a benevolent universe that is always working in my favor, that is always guiding me towards the highest expression of myself in this lifetime. Okay. And that's true for all of us. Okay, so I hope this was helpful. I hope it brought you some support and encouragement. Please feel free to pause, come back, rewind, watch it at certain portions again, ask questions, and leave your comments at the end of this video.